What is up, everybody? Piscean here, and in this video we're going to talk about mainly advanced astrology and synastry, composite charts, progressed planets, and essentially what does partnership look like in regards to astrology. Now, it does say this is the third volume in the Codex series following the Almanac of Time and the Breviary of Practice. In this volume, it descends from the macrocosm into the microcosm of union. It is an anthology of relationship as alchemical vessel, the codex of the ingress light, right? An anthology of synastry and composite case files for the advanced astrologer. Now, what I want to do is go over a few of these conceptual case studies, right? Let's talk about this certain story here. Her Mars conjunct his Saturn, opposite his Moon. Composite Sun is in the 12th house. So she arrives like a storm. She is an Aries rising, Mars in Scorpio. He is a Capricorn stellium, Moon in Cancer. She feels alive only when she is pushing. He feels safe only when he is still. The attraction is immediate and carnal, the exact meeting of the sword and the stone. But then we see here with our advanced synastry analysis the hidden mechanism here. Oops. Her Mars conjunct his Saturn. Now, the popular reading for this is she wants action and he says no. The alchemical reading is deeper, okay? Her Mars is the only tool sharp enough to cut through the calcified limestone of his Saturnian defenses, but here is the twist visible only in the declinations. Her Mars is out of bounds, alright? And what does it mean? Well, it means her will operates outside the solar consensus. He doesn't resist her because he is lazy. He resists her because her desire is inhuman in its intensity. So she's trying to liberate a part of him that he has already agreed via Saturn to keep locked in the basement. And we see his Moon opposite her Mars, so he experiences her drive as a violation of the womb. His Moon is in Cancer, wants to contain and nurture, and her Mars wants to break the container open to see what's inside. This is not a fight about dishes. This is a war between incubation and evisceration. Alright? Now we're on to the composite chart revelation, the third body's name. Composite Sun in the 12th house, right? Pisces is on the cusp. We see the child of this union is the invisible witness. The relationship has no ego. Sun is hidden in the 12th house. It cannot be shown off at parties. It exists only in the liminal space of dreams, telepathy, and shared silence. And that truly, these three things that I said, dreams, telepathy, and shared silence, that is Pisces. These are Pisces. That is Neptune and Jupiter working together. So now we see composite Moon is conjunct composite Neptune in the 4th house. Alright, this means that this relationship is not a home. It is a floodplain. There is no solid ground, right? One minute they are dry, the next they are drowning in each other's unconscious trauma. That's Moon conjunct Neptune. And we have it in the 4th house. And then we have a prescription here, kind of like a remedy, a relationship remedy, if you will. So this is also showing you how to come up with certain remedies for certain relational issues, right? So we see that this is a monastic cell for two people who need to learn the difference between acting, which is Mars, and abiding, which is Saturn. The only path forward is a shared vigil. They must sit in a dark room, back to back, for 1 hour a week without speaking. They must feel the third body, the 12th house sun, without trying to name it. If they try to fix this with date night, the machine will grind the ghost to dust. Right? Alright, now we're going to go over this situation. Venus conjunct Pluto in the 10th house, square the nodal axis. So two quiet people. He works in archives, she restores antique books. By all external accounts, they are perfect, supportive, calm, a balm to each other's nervous systems. But both confess in separate sessions to a recurring dream. They are standing on a platform watching a city burn, holding hands and feeling an inappropriate sense of relief. Venus conjunct Pluto in the 10th house, square the nodal axis. Doesn't that sound like their dream together? If you're into astrology, you know. Alright, so let's look at this, their composite chart revelation here. Composite Venus conjunct Pluto, and it's happening in the 10th house. So this is the chart of Bonnie and Clyde or the Borgias. And I haven't even done, a video on Bonnie and Clyde or the Borgias, but maybe I will. So the third body of this relationship has a public reputation with the underworld. This couple is not nice. They are seismic. Their love generates a magnetic field of transformation that threatens everyone around them, and this is why they hide in archives and quiet hobbies. They are trying to muffle Pluto in the 10th with Venusian wallpaper. Alright? We also see the square to the nodes. Now, the relationship has a karmic deadline. The North Node in Aries in the 4th screams, stop being a pleasant public institution. Burn down the private internal house of the father. The relationship's purpose is not to be happy. It is to inherit the wound, which is South Node Libra in the 4th, and transmute it into a private, fiery selfhood that owes no explanation to the public. Venus Pluto in the 10th. Alright? We have our advanced technique here, which is the Davison relationship chart confirmation. And by rectifying the moment of first meeting using the Davison method, we find the vertex exact on the fixed star Regulus. The meeting was an appointment with the king's heart. Regulus grants success, but only if revenge is avoided. The librarian and the fire eater must stop pretending they are harmless together, right? They must collaborate on something dangerous together. A book of banned poetry, a secret garden of poisonous plants. They must own the shadow of the 10th house, or the relationship will fester into a quiet, polite, lifelong resentment. Against not even just everybody around them, but, again, each other, and then it gets into their selves. So we see this with that. Alright, now we're going to go over examining synastry not by obvious Ptolemaic aspects. Your conjunctions, your squares, your oppositions, but by anticia and contra anticia. These are the mirror points across the solstice axis, 0 degrees Cancer, Capricorn. These are the connections the conscious mind cannot see, but the body feels as deja vu. So 15 degrees Gemini, 15 degrees Cancer conundrum. We see her sun is at 15 degrees Gemini and his Venus is at 15 degrees Cancer. The apparent reading for this is they are adjacent signs, no major aspect. She's chatty and mental, which is Gemini. He is moody and nurturing, which is Cancer. Astrology 101 says incompatible communication styles. Why? Because Gemini is air and Cancer is water. When you mix water and air, do they go together? No. Not so smoothly. It doesn't work very well, alright? As a combination. Now, I want to talk about our alternative advanced analysis, which is anticia of the solstice. And we see 15 degrees Gemini is a mirror of 15 degrees Cancer. All right, they are the exact same point of light in the Earth's annual wobble, just expressed on opposite sides of the summer solstice gate. All right, so her sun, which is at 15 degrees Gemini, is in secret silent conjunction with his Venus, which is at 15 degrees Cancer, via the shadow. And this means when she talks about nothing, which could be the weather, the news, the trivia of the street, which for some people is nothing, his soul hears poetry. Her mind is the only voice that can calm his emotional body, and when he feels safe and quietly makes her soup, her nervous system, which is Gemini, finally stops shaking for the first time in her life. All right? They must never try to communicate directly about feelings, all right? That path is ruined by the adjacent sign dissonance. Instead, they must parallel play. She reads aloud from a random page of the dictionary. He builds a fire. That is their language. The Anticia is the back channel of the cosmos. And now we see the Black Moon Lilith composite codex. We see composite Lilith conjunct the ascendant in its 0 degrees orb. They are the pariahs. They met at a party where they were both standing against the wall, not talking to anyone. They are a strikingly beautiful couple, but people react to them viscerally. Waiters spill drinks near them. Friends forget to invite them. The relationship is a lightning rod for projection. Projection. All right. Composite Lilith on the ascendant. The third body of this relationship is the unforgivable woman. Lilith is not sexuality. Lilith is refusal to serve. All right? The relationship, by its very existence, is a living critique of every other couple in the room. It says, we will not perform for you. We will not smile for the camera. We will not diminish ourselves to make you comfortable. In composite Sun in the 8th house squaring Pluto, the purpose of this union is to die to the village. They must embrace the role of the hermit couple. Their love will only survive if they build a wall of silence around it. Their relationship is not for Instagram, it is for the abyss. Right? If they try to fit in or be normal, the composite Lilith turns inward and becomes autoimmune disease. One of them will get mysteriously sick. The relationship is a sacred feral creature. You do not domesticate a wolf, you build a sanctuary and watch it from a distance. Alright. Now we have our appendix, which is the composite moon phases here, a diagnostic table. For the advanced practitioner, the phase of the composite moon is more important than the sign. Alright, so we have our composite moon phase, the nature of the third body, and the task of the couple. Alright, we see here, for our new moon phase, the unknown potential. The relationship is a blank book. There is no past. Do not look to others for a script. Write the first word in a language only you two understand. Alright. First quarter moon, the crisis of action. The relationship wants to do something but keeps hitting walls. This union must build a physical structure together. A garden bed, a shelf, a business. Sweat is the only solvent. Choose a different color here. Full moon, the illuminated fracture. The relationship is a public event, alright? Everyone sees it. The task is objectivity. Step back. See the relationship as a work of art separate from your ego. Where is the crack in the paint? Balsamic, waning crescent, the seer's retreat. The relationship is old. It has done this before. This is not a time for new projects. It is a time for cellular repatterning. Fast together, sit in the woods, listen to the silence of the previous lifetimes, alright? And now we're going to go over this follow-up pretty immediately. Progress composites, relationship returns, and the eschatology of union. First we have our prolegomenon. The relationship is a river. I just taught you guys, how to see that composite chart as a sculpture, right? But to only study the natal composite is to mistake the photograph for the life. We are going to concern ourselves with the motion of the third body. Progress composites, how the relationship matures and ages. Composite lunar returns, the monthly weather report of the union soul. Eclipses on the composite angles, the gates of irreversible transformation. Alright, a relationship does not end when two people separate. It enters the underworld. The composite chart remains alive, albeit in a different dimension. These techniques allow you to track the relationship even when the bodies are no longer in the same room. which is often when the true alchemical work begins. All right? Let's first talk about the progressed composite moon, the slow pulse of the third body's heart. Our technique summary here. The progressed composite moon moves approximately 1 degree per month, the same rate as a nail-progressed moon. It spends about 2.5 years in each sign. This is the emotional timeline of the relationship itself, independent of the feelings of the two individuals involved. Right. The grief of the Virgin, progressed composite moon entering Virgo from Leo. A couple together for 8 years. The romance was legendary. Composite natal moon in Leo in the 5th house. They were the life of the party, the couple everyone wanted to be. Laughter, grand gestures, public adoration. Over the last 6 months, a quiet melancholy has settled over the home. The laughter feels forced. The grand gestures feel hollow. The individuals are not fighting. They are simply deflating. She wonders if she's fallen out of love. He wonders if this is all there is. Progressed composite shift. Progressed composite moon has entered Virgo. All right, the relationship's emotional need has shifted from radiance Leo to repair Virgo. The third body is no longer a performing lion. It is a monk sweeping the temple floor. And this is not the death of love. This is the harvest of the practical. The relationship is demanding that the couple stop performing their love and start servicing it. Our misdiagnosis, our truth. She thinks she needs to feel the spark again, which is Leo nostalgia. She needs to organize the pantry with him. She needs to weed the garden in silence beside him. The Virgo moon and the composite demands shared craftsmanship. The third body is asking, stop showing me off, fix me, mend my frayed edges. We have a prescription here from the timepiece. For the duration of this 2.5-year transit, they must institute a weekly vigil of maintenance, not date night, tool night. Sharpen the kitchen knives together, recalk the bathtub, sort the mail. This is the eroticism of the mundane that Virgo demands. If they resist and chase the Leo ghost, the relationship will develop a chronic illness, a vague, persistent dissatisfaction that has no name, but drains all color. Alright, let's talk about the composite solar return, the annual incarnation of the third body. Cast the chart for the exact moment the composite sun returns to its natal degree. This is the birthday of the relationship. It sets the theme for the next year of the union's life. We talk about the year of the drowning tower and composite solar return, ascendant conjunct algal. Guys, guess who else has this placement? Their ascendant, Taurus ascendant conjunct the fixed star algal. Your girl. And sun in the 8th house for this composite solar return, and it's squaring Saturn. Alright. A couple of 12 years seeks counsel. They report nothing is wrong, but everything feels like a test. The roof leaked, the car died, our parents are both sick, we are just surviving. Is this a sign we shouldn't be together? And they didn't even just get one sign, they're asking that. They got everything feels like a test here. The roof leaked, the car died, parents are sick. These are multiple things going on. But what does this have to do with their marriage? That's what they're worried about. So we see the composite solar return is brutalist architecture. We see the ascendant conjunct the fixed star algal at 26 degrees Taurus. Right? The Medusa's gaze is upon the relationship. Anything false or weak in the structure will be petrified, made visible and immovable, and this is not a year for softness, it is a year for imperviousness. We see Sun is in the 8th house and it's squaring Saturn. The relationship is in the underworld. It is not meant to feel good, it is meant to survive death, and inheritance. Alright? We see the individuals believe the universe is testing them. Alright? The timepiece reveals the universe is testing the third body. We have the false question being, are we strong enough for this? And the true question being, is this, is the union itself strong enough to hold our individual terror? The couple must build a physical cairn in their yard or on a shelf. And it's usually about doing something physical together, to build that connection back. So each time a disaster strikes, they do not complain. They silently add a stone to the cairn. The cairn becomes the visible weight of the 8th house. And on the last day of the solar return year, they must dismantle the cairn together and bury the stones. This is the alchemy of Saturn, which is turning the weight of the world into the foundation of the future. All right? Now we're going to go over the Astrology of Union, and these are essentially, well, it is a piece on eclipses on the composite axes, right? One of the most advanced and dangerous section of this video here, I'd say, because eclipses on the composite angles, or the nodes even, are faded revisions of the soul contract. Alright, talk about the total eclipse of the heart's midheaven, or MC, however you guys have seen me talk about this in both ways. Alright, so we see here composite midheaven is at 10 degrees Aries. Total solar eclipse is exactly conjunct this composite midheaven. Alright, so what does it tell us? Well, within 1 week of the eclipse, the couple experiences a public crucifixion. They are uninvited from a family wedding. One of them is publicly shamed on a social media for a past mistake. The reputation as a unit is annihilated. And we see here an eclipse on the composite midheaven is the death of the false purpose. The relationship had been using its public identity as a shield against its true work. The eclipse is a merciful act of cosmic surgery. It removes the tumor of reputation so that the soul can breathe. See, eclipses echo for 18 years, right? The codex states, this couple will not be understood by their community for nearly 2 decades. Their work is not for the present village. It is for the future ancestors. They must perform a vow of invisibility for 40 days following the eclipse. They must not post about each other online. They must not defend their relationship to family. They must vanish into the cave of the heart. What they forge in that silence will be the new star that rises from the ashes of the old midheaven. Alright. Now we're going to go over to the abandoned composite, the underworld tracking here. We have a haunted question from the field here. My partner left 3 years ago, but I still feel them. I dream of them. I know they dream of me. Is this just grief, or is the composite chart still active? What's going on? Well, the composite chart is a living egregore. It does not require the consent of the 2 human egos to continue existing. It requires energy, and grief is the most potent fuel in the cosmos. Alright? The ghost in the machine of the past, tracking the transits to an abandoned composite. Continue to run transits and progressions for the composite chart as if the individuals were still together. Alright? Sounds crazy, but the aspects will reveal the unfinished business of the third body here. And transiting Saturn square composite moon, even if you are divorced and remarried to others, this transit brings a winter of the shared memory. You will both independently recall a specific moment of tenderness. That memory is the third body's last will and testament. It is asking to be honored, not relived. And we see transiting Jupiter conjunct composite sun, which is a sudden random run-in. A legal document found in a drawer, a blessing from the dead. This transit suggests the relationship's purpose was fulfilled, even if its duration was short. This is the moment to release the third body with gratitude, like releasing a sky lantern. It has finished its work on Earth. Alright. Here's the ritual of release for the abandoned composite. If the bond is truly to be dissolved, you cannot just move on. You must bury the third body, right? Find the composite sun degree, for example, 22 degrees Pisces. When the transiting moon reaches that exact degree, once a month, light a single candle. Speak to the third body as a separate entity. I release you from the burden of my flesh. I release you from the weight of my story. You are free to return to the stars. Blow out the candle. Now, this is not magic. It is ethical relationship necromancy. It closes the loop that the heart alone cannot close. We have our appendix, the relationship as a fixed star. And we're going to go over the params of the composite chart. Alright, so for the initiate of the timepiece, if you wish to see the immutable myth of the relationship, ignore the planets and look to the params of the composite chart. A paran occurs when a fixed star is rising, culminating, setting, or at the nadir at the exact moment of the composite sun's position. Alright, and we see composite, paran, the eternal archetype. So Spica, these are fixed stars by the way, culminating the harvest of 2 souls. This union was designed to produce something tangible, a child, a book, a business. It will only find peace in the labor of creation. Aldebaran, rising, the watcher in the east. This union is a guardian of a specific threshold. May be turbulent, but it protects a secret entrance to the divine. Fomalhaut, setting, the dream of the Magi. This union is not of this world. It exists primarily in the astral. Attempting to ground in it attempting to ground it in 9 to 5 reality will shatter it. It must be lived in poetry and twilight. All right. Now, I do have yet another follow-up, but this time I want to speak of Catabasis, the soul's necessary descent into the caverns of the other. Alright? The Chthonic Library, an advanced grimoire of synastry and composite shadow work, with commentaries on Dante, John Apuleius, and the Rosarium Philosophorum. Alright? First, we're going to go over this prolegomenon here, the Nicaea of the Heart. And we have our quote. In the middle of the journey of our life, I found myself in a dark wood, for the straight way was lost. Dante Alighieri, Inferno, Canto 1. Now, if you haven't read any books by Dante or know anything about Dante and his Inferno books, I suggest you do some research before you continue this video here. But anyways, so we are going to concern ourselves here with the fourth body, which is the shadow composite. This is the chart of the relationship's hell, which is purgatory, and paradise is mapped by the unconscious collisions of both partners. Right? We will not flinch here. We will read the chart as Dante read the inscription above the gate of hell. Abandon all hope, ye who enter he. And I'm pretty sure Roman Roy also said that in succession in season 1 when they were at a party in some nightclub, some underground nightclub. If you haven't seen HBO Succession, go watch it. Anyways, this is not a counsel of despair. It is a mandate for radical honesty. Hope, in the astrological sense, is a Neptune delusion. What we seek here is not hope, it is vision. And vision often requires the temporary blinding of the ego. Alright. First, I want to talk about the Inferno of Synastry and the hard aspects as contrapasso. So Dante's Inferno, each sin is punished by its own nature, contrapasso. In synastry, the hard aspects are not bad, they are contrapasso for the soul. They reveal the exact nature of the shared karmic crime. Alright, we're going to go over some more case files, just incorporating literature into this. Her Venus, opposite his Neptune, exact composite Sun in the 8th, square Mars in Scorpio. She is a painter, he is a musician. Their first meeting was electric, a recognition that felt like a reunion across millennia. The sex was cosmogonic. They felt they were recreating the Big Bang in a rented studio apartment, but within 6 months, the fog of disappointment rolled in. She cannot finish a painting, he cannot write a single note. They are addicted to the fusion, yet starving in the aftermath. Now I want to go over the Dantean reading, so we're inserting this in here. Canto V, Paolo, and Francesca here. Dante encounters the souls of the lustful, swept eternally through the air by a violent wind, never allowed to rest. Their sin was not love, it was substituting the image for the reality. Francesca says, love, which permits no loved one not to love, took me so strongly with delight in him that, as you see, it still does not leave me. Her Venus opposite his Neptune creates the hurricane of the image, right? She projects the animus of the divine artist onto him. He projects the anima of the eternal muse onto her. The opposition is the wind that sweeps them into the bed but prevents them from ever standing on solid ground. And now we see the explicit alchemical intervention from the Rosarium Philosophorum. Alright. Now, the alchemists knew that the stage, as the conjunctio oppositorum gone awry, a false union that produces only fumus, smoke, and tenebrae, darkness. The text warns, if the bodies are not purified, the conjunction generates a monster. So therefore they must undergo the ordeal of Paolo and Francesca. For 30 days they are forbidden to touch each other. They must sit in the same room naked, facing opposite walls. Each holds a journal. They write only about the image they see in their mind's eye of the other. After 30 days they read the journals aloud. The goal is to separate the projection from the person. The Neptune-Venus opposition is a mandate to fall in love with the mortal, not the muse. Only when the wind stops can they see the actual face of the beloved, scarred and real. Alright. I want to talk about the frozen lake of the betrayers in this composite chart. Moon conjunct Saturn in the 11th, square Pluto in the 8th, and we see specific synastry here. Sun square her moon. Her Saturn conjunct his IC. Alright. What does it mean? What we see here, this is a marriage of 22 years, and on the surface, they are pillars of their spiritual community. They host retreats, they speak of conscious partnership, but in the private sessions requested secretly by the husband, the truth emerges. The boredom is Antarctica. There has been no physical intimacy for 7 years out of these 22 years. They share a house, a business, and a mutual contempt disguised as spiritual bypass. Right? Now, I want to give the Dantean reading The Traitors and Ice. Dante's lowest circle is not fire. It is ice. Alright? People think that hell is fire. That's wrong. Hell is ice. Try to come and live in Minnesota. You're going to want to kill yourself if you're not from here and you're from a really dry and dusty place. Or even if you are from here, you probably fucking hate it. The traitors are frozen in Lake Cocytus, their tears forming crystalline masks over their faces. The deepest betrayal is against hospitality, the sacred bond of the shared home. So where Saturn on his IC, the nadir, alright, the root of the home, is the frozen foundation. The composite moon conjunct Saturn, square Pluto, is the Cocytus of the soul. They have betrayed the Eros of the home. They are spiritual leaders who have used the 11th house, community ideals, as a shield device to avoid the terrifying intimacy of the 8th house, shared vulnerability, and psychic death. And we see our explicit literature reference here, Jung's Psychology of the Transference. Jung analyzes the Rosarium woodcuts where king and queen sit naked but separate. The text reads, the more the pairs of opposites are constellated, the more powerful is the tendency of the unconscious to constellate the great hermaphroditic primitive being. This couple has constellated the opposites but frozen the process. They are stuck in the Negrito blackening and have mistaken it for the final product. Their peace is the peace of the tune. Alright? The thawing of Cocytus. This relationship requires volcanic intervention. A composite Pluto square moon cannot be talked through. It must be enacted. They must close the retreat center for one full moon cycle. They must enter the cave of disillusionment. Every morning they must speak one unspeakable resentment to the other. The rule: the listener cannot respond, defend, or explain. The listener can only say, I receive this ice, I will hold it until it melts. If they do this, the tears, Saturn moon, will finally flow. The ice will break. The relationship will either dissolve into a new form or die a conscious death, which is infinitely more honorable than the frozen living death of the traitors. Right. The Purgatorio of the composite, the 7 terraces of relational refinement. Dante's Purgatorio, the mountain where souls climb upward, shedding the 7 deadly sins through ordeal and prayer. The composite chart, when progressed through time, climbs this mountain. Right. Let's talk about the Terrace of Pride. Composite Sun conjunct the fixed star Regulus. The sin here is the relationship believes it is special. It looks down on other couples who are less evolved. It uses spiritual language to mask a deep contempt for the mundane. Phew. Whew. Whew. Alright. Dante sees the proud bent double under massive stones, forced to look at the ground. The earth they scorned. For the composite Regulus relationship, the ordeal is humiliation by obscurity. The transit of Saturn over the composite midheaven will strip away the audience. They will be forced to do the boring work of love, cleaning the bathroom together, balancing the checkbook without resentment, sitting in traffic without reaching for the phone. The couple must write a confession of superiority. They must list in excruciating detail every couple they have secretly judged. Every time they thought, we are better than this list is read aloud, then burned, and the ashes are mixed into the soil of a humiliated plant, a dandelion or a weed, which they then nurture back to health. Alright, let's go over this. The Terrace of Envy, composite moon, square, Venus, Pluto, midpoint. Alright, we're going to talk about midpoints now. The relationship is haunted by the third, not by infidelity, but by the phantom of the unlived alternative. They envy the freedom of single friends, the wealth of other couples, the apparent ease of other partnerships. They look at their own love and see only lack. The envious have their eyes sewn shut with iron wire. They must learn to see with the heart's eye alone. For a designated week, the couple must wear blindfolds whenever they are together in private. They must navigate the home, prepare food, and hold conversation without the visual comparison that fuels envy. They must rely on the sound of the other's breath, the texture of the other's skin. This is a direct application of the Rosarium dictum: blind the senses that the inner star may rise. Right. The Paradiso of the transpersonal composite, Dante's Paradiso, the final ascent into the spheres of light, where individual identity dissolves into the rose of the blessed. Not all relationships are meant for the earth. Some are stellar laboratories. Their composite chart shows a pattern that is not for domestic happiness, but for the generation of a new archetype. Let's talk about the mirror of the fixed stars here. Composite Sun at 0 degrees Cancer, the gate of souls. Trine Uranus and Pisces, exalted. It's in its home sign, kind of. Sextile North Node in Taurus, or Rahu. And Synastry Vertex, conjunct Vertex exact. Alright. They met once for 4 hours in an airport lounge during a snowstorm. They spoke of childhood dreams, of books that changed them, of the exact moment they stopped believing in a punitive God. They never exchanged contact information. They never found each other on social media, but both report that this encounter was the axis mundi of their entire life. It changed nothing externally, it changed everything internally. Alright, the advanced analysis here is the Paracelsian, Astrum, and Homine. Paracelsus wrote of the astrum, the star within the human. This relationship did not have a third body, it had a stellar event. The composite Sun at 0 degrees Cancer is the portal of incarnation. Uranus and Pisces trine is the dissolution of the veil. The vertex conjunction is a fated appointment of witnessing. Alright? And now we see the literature of the ineffable. Rilke's letters to a young poet. Rilke writes, "For one human being to love another, that is perhaps the most difficult of all our tasks, the work for which all other work is but preparation. And later, I hold this to be the highest task of a bond between two people, that each should stand guard over the solitude of the other." This relationship is a guardian of solitude. They will never live together. They will never build a home. They are the fixed stars in each other's chart, a point of reference that never moves, even as the planets of daily life whirl in chaos. Once a year, on the anniversary of the snowstorm, each sits down and writes a letter to the other. The letter is never sent. It is sealed with wax and placed in a black box hidden in the closet. This is the offering to the astrum. It keeps the portal at 0 degrees Cancer open for the collective. This relationship is not for the two individuals. It is a service to the Anima Mundi. Alright, we're almost finished up with this section here, because I wanted to go over an explicit commentary on the 10 woodcuts as applied to the composite chart, so the abyssal reading of the Rosarium Philosophorum. Now, first we have the mercurial fountain, right? Our woodcut stage, composite correspondence, the mature explicit truth. Composite Mercury in the first house, the relationship is a flowing source of naming. It creates its own language. Outsiders cannot understand it. This is not twin flame nonsense. It is linguistic alchemy. Second, we have the king and queen naked, composite Venus-Mars midpoint, conjunct the ascendant. The relationship must stand naked before the world. It cannot hide behind social roles. This is terrifying. It invites projection. It is the crucifixion of the false self. Right. We have the naked truth composite Sun square Pluto. The relationship is fated to uncover the family secret. One partner will, through the union, confront the incestuous, murderous, or insane shadow of their lineage. This is not for the faint of heart. Immersion in the bath, composite moon in the 8th house. The relationship is a shared womb tomb. They will regress to infancy together. They will weep without knowing why. This is the dissolution of the armor. The conjunction, coitus, composite sun, moon, superior conjunction. This is the sacred androgyne. But the Rosarium warns, here the death of the old king begins. The ego of each partner must die for the third body to be born. Therefore, this is not romantic, it is Eucharistic. They consume each other's flesh and blood psychologically. Death and putrefaction, composite Saturn opposite Pluto. The relationship rots, literally. There will be a period of months or years where everything smells of decay, old resentments, financial ruin, illness. This is the Negrito. The couple will want to flee. The Rosarium commands, do not remove the hand from the vessel. Stay in the stench. The peacock's tail, cauda pavonis, will appear only after the blackness is complete. The ascent of the soul, composite Jupiter trine Uranus. Suddenly, inexplicably, the relationship flies. A burst of creativity, a period of travel, a shared vision, but this is a gift, not a possession. It will fade. Do not cling to it. Purification, the whitening, composite moon and Virgo sextile Saturn, the relationship becomes a clinic of small kindnesses. The ecstasy of the ascent is replaced by the quiet, relentless discipline of showing up. This is the albedo. It is the most boring and most holy stage. The return of the soul composite, Venus conjunct ascendant, the relationship gains a public face of grace, becomes a quiet refuge for others. This is not ego, it is the natural radiation of a completed inner marriage. As new king here, the Robido composite sun in the 10th house trines Saturn, the third body is fully incarnated. The relationship is a living teaching. It is not preached, it simply is, and in its being, it heals the ancestral lines of both families. Alright, now we're going to go over our appendix, which is the Lexicon of the Abyss, a glossary of explicit terms. Alright, so this is for the reader who seeks precision in the darkness. We have our term, definition, and the context of advanced synastry. Alright. Anima's assassination, the moment when the projected ideal, Prince Charming muse, is murdered by the reality of the partner's flawed humanity. This is the necessary prelude to real love. Chtonic nuptial, the unconscious, often terrifying bond formed when two people share a thanatos drive. For example, both had a parent die young, both have a secret death wish. This bond is deeper than Eros, it is the pack of the underworld. Egregoric incest, when the composite chart creates a third body that is so powerful it devours the individual parents. The couple can no longer function separately. They have been absorbed into the relationship entity. This is a spiritual emergency. Negrito of the bedchamber, the explicit, unavoidable period of sexual aridity and psychological putrefaction required by a composite Pluto transit. It is not a sign of failure. It is the alchemical seal of authenticity. Sidereal cuckoldry, the phenomenon where one partner's natal chart is haunted by a fixed star that the other partner embodies unconsciously. The first partner is, in essence, married to the star, for example, Algo Spica, and the human partner is merely the vessel. This is not betrayal, it is a sacred function. The human must accept their role as the daemon's consort. Thus concludes the Chtonic library. May you walk through the fire of these pages in video and emerge not with a partner, but with a soul forged in the crucible of the other. The albedo awaits those who dare the Negrito. Alright. So, in my next video, we are going to go over a treatise for the exo-consciousness, right? It is a reconstruction of astrological first principles derived from the logic of non-human intelligence, or NHI philosophy, a cosmology where the chart is not a map of fate but a blueprint of noetic geometry. The Sidereal Christelis, a treatise on exo-astrological topology and NHI noetic resonance. So, I will see you there with peace and love. Piscean out.